Welcome, everyone. Let's go ahead and settle into a comfortable posture for meditation. Just kind of settling into the body, letting any tension or agitation or movement kind of accumulated from your doings during the day, just letting that start to settle down. And as we let our body settle into presence, let the mind settle down as well. We get so spun up by the people we talk to and the things that we encounter. Meditation is a time to just let them dissipate. You don't need to push anything away or change anything. Just don't give it any energy. Just let it be. Perhaps noticing if there's any sense of physical or mental relaxation, easing. You might let attention come to rest on the breath, just very gently, just watching, noticing. Quality of release, of letting go. You might notice if you can see that in the out breath. Perhaps just lean into that a bit. Just relaxing. Just coming home to the present moment. Whatever's here. And of course, the mind naturally moves attention to other objects, thoughts, feelings, sounds. Something else will inevitably grab the mind's attention. When this happens, the thing to do is just to bring attention back to the breath. Nothing more. It doesn't matter if this is the first time tonight or the 100th time. Just bring it back. No judgment, no worry about doing the wrong thing. Just let attention come back to the breath. And give yourself a little pat on the back. Good job. Attention has a quality of kindness to it, a willingness to be present with whatever is there. feel warmth and acceptance. You might notice and see if you can find that in experience. Perhaps lean into that a little bit. Meeting the breath with warmth and kindness. As you continue to let this kind attention rest on the breath, as you continue to accumulate this momentum of good karma, this momentum that steers your state of mind in the direction of peace, you might see if you can start to let go into that kindness, to let go of any sort of striving that's going on, and let the mind shift into a more receptive mode. Start to shift more from doing to being. You might play with that and see how that works. the way you're meeting this moment has an effect on the rest of your life. You meet this moment with kindness, and warmth, and welcome. This makes that attitude easier to adopt in the future. So the rest of your meditation is slightly more calm and peaceful. When you get up off the cushion and go home, it's easier to act with kindness towards the people you meet and towards yourself. Just stemming from how you meet this moment. It's true even if the meditation has been mostly lost in thought or agitated. What you do in this moment has an effect. Maybe just a slight effect, but an effect. This is always true for every moment. The intention you bring to this present moment has consequences for you and for others. If you put good intention into the world, good consequences will tend to result. We might take this last minute or so to appreciate the effects of our practice. Each of the moments of presence or kindness you may have had today has an effect on the world. The intention to be present or to be kind has consequences. Those consequences are good. Those consequences spread out into the world. So you might think of each of those moments of presence or kindness that occurred during the meditation today as rocks cast into a pond, rippling out. It doesn't matter how many there were. Even if there was only one moment in that whole 30-minute meditation, it still put out a positive change into the world. Even if there were no moments, the intention to come here today, that self-good Kamma, had an effect on the world. It might take a bit of time to appreciate that. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you all. I have a couple of announcements before we get started. As I think some of you guys know, Dhammadippa is coming back at the end of the month, so she will be available to see folks, which I'm sure she would enjoy. There's going to be a couple of in-person events this month, some of which are not up on the website yet. But the one that's up on the website now is a retreat with Dhammadippa on the 12th through the 18th. The title is Embodied Truths, Wisdom Practice in the Body. So it's frameworks for dealing with the breath and the body. I think that's up at BCPS. And there should be a couple more things coming up that I'm sure I'll mention next week and will be up on the website shortly. So tonight I want to talk about Kamma and conditionality, which are not the same thing. They're two different things, but they are related. And I think a lot of folks find Kamma pretty confusing. I certainly have as well. So I want to talk about it and talk about how to work with the knowledge of what Kamma is and how that can shape your practice and kind of bring some benefit to you. So let me start with conditionality. The Pali term for this is paticca samuppada, or maybe a better pronunciation of that. But it's also translated as dependent origination, or sometimes it's called causes and conditions. But basically, conditionality is the understanding that everything that arises, so any phenomena or any object, does not do so on its own. It's conditioned by everything else, like everything else that's arisen. So kind of a simple example of this is, one thing that's arising for you in this moment is the sound of my voice. And the sound of my voice is conditioned by, the movement of my lips a fraction of a second earlier. And the sound of my voice has an effect on the world too. Perhaps some thoughts or some emotions will arise. And of course, it doesn't, like, those are not the only conditions. And those conditions have conditions of their own. So the movement of my lips was conditioned by, me thinking about this talk earlier in the day, and so on and so forth. And this spreads throughout the whole of existence. Everything is kind of connected together. The metaphor I like to understand this, it's got a good visual to me, is Indra's net. So this is a Vedic understanding that was incorporated into Buddhist teachings at some point. And Indra is a god and has this vast and infinite net that he spreads above his palace in the sky. And at the intersection of each of the connections between the strands of the web, there lies a jewel. And each of those jewels reflects all the other jewels. I like that visual. So what Kamma is a subset of conditionality. Kamma is the conditionality of your intention. So Kamma is the understanding that your intention has consequences. Just as everything else that arises affects the world, so too does your intention. And Kamma is the set of stuff that flows from your intention, the consequences and the kind of follow on from that. If you want to be a little reductive about things, you can say, good intentions tend to lead to good consequences, and bad intentions tend to lead to bad consequences. That's basically Kamma, and we can see this in action, and this is part of what we want to do in practice, because when we act harmfully in the world, we do this because we don't see Kamma. For example, someone who doesn't see the world clearly might come across an opportunity to steal some money. And if they're not seeing the world clearly, they might just see the effect that, oh, I'll get some money. That seems pretty good. But if you understand the consequences of your intention, you know that in addition to getting the money, you're also going to get some fear. You're going to be worried about being caught. And you're also going to generate more greed in yourself, having gotten this thing. You're going to generate hurt in this other person, which will kind of rebound to you. And so when you see Kamma clearly, the cost benefit analysis of your actions change, and you just very naturally tend to act in a helpful manner. And there's a couple of misconceptions about Kamma that I want to address too. You've heard Kamma kind of used as like a kind of cosmic eye for an eye retribution thing. So, if somebody does something wrong to you, when somebody takes your money or whatever, well, the universe is gonna get them back and take their money at some point. It doesn't work like that. It really is just like, good intentions lead to good effects and bad intentions lead to bad effects. You also can't look at something that occurs in somebody's life, maybe some kind of bad outcome, and say this is due to their bad Kamma. You can't really tie it. You can't tie a specific happening to kind of individual pieces of Kamma. There's a good metaphor for Kamma that I like. Imagine that you are standing in a lake, this great lake. And kind of as I was mentioning in the meditation, your actions are like a rock tossed into the water, and this rock causes a ripple, and this ripple touches you. It has some kind of effect, and then it it's spreading out across the lake, and it rebounds from the shore, and it comes back to you again. And it's constantly kind of touching you and interacting with your life. This one action. But of course, we act with intention like many times, often many times a second. So we're constantly throwing rocks out into the water, and these ripples constantly coming and going. And it's just this mess. And then you add into this lake, 8 billion other people throwing their own rocks, and you just can't really look and say, oh, this specific event was due to this specific kind of intention of mine. And in fact, the Buddha kind of famously said, if you try and do that, if you try and like make that connection, actually I have a little sutta that I'll read. It's very short, but he says like, don't do that because you'll go crazy. So this is Anguttara Nikaya 4.77, the unthinkable sutta. It says, mendicants, these four things are unthinkable. They should not be thought about. And anyone who tries to think about them will go mad or get frustrated. What for? So he lists three others, but also the results of deeds. So Kamma. These are the four unthinkable things. They should not be thought about, and anyone who tries to think about them will go mad or get frustrated. So that is straight from the Buddha's mouth. So the thing to do with Kamma is to understand how it works, not look at the individual things. Just know that good actions tend to have good consequences and bad tend to have bad. So now we get to what I really wanted to talk about. So assuming you you agree with this and perhaps have seen this in your life in some amount, how does this knowledge move you? How does it change things? How does it make your life better? And I thought I would give us like 30 seconds to consider that, just because I think there's something useful we can learn about how we answer that. So maybe just like take 30 seconds to understand like how this knowledge might change your life. So I will make a guess. I will make a guess and say that your answer was some form of the idea that I should choose to do good Kamma and I should choose not to do bad Kamma. Maybe you had some specifics, but something along those lines. That's the very natural and very logical kind of conclusion for that. And this is skillful. That's a skillful and wise answer. There is another answer too that I will get to in a moment. But this way of having the understanding of Kamma change your life is skillful, and it's good to do. A couple months ago, I gave a talk around this idea. I used the metaphor of like tending your garden. If you understand these individual moments of intention as planting seeds, you can plant the seed of good Kamma and have yourself a nice flower or something. Or you can plant a seed of bad Kamma and have some thorns or poison ivy or weeds or something. And if you look at that as kind of over the span of your life, this is this garden you've created for yourself. And if you've lived a life of good Kamma, you can have this lovely life full of fragrant flowers and fruit trees and butterflies and stuff. Or you can have this life full of weeds and thorns and thistles and unpleasantness. And the other thing I want to say about this is that when you're at this point, when you're looking at your life and saying, oh, I would really like to have this garden of flowers. I would really like to live this life of good Kamma. The thing to understand about that is that we've spent our life accumulating Kamma. We have this, it's momentum to our life. This human being that we are is this like dynamic, movement of energy, but it has this great momentum of Kamma behind it. And if we spent our life accumulating, a great deal of one kind of Kamma or another, our life is going to point in that direction. And it's it's certainly not that it's impossible to change. You definitely can. It's just that you have momentum. There's momentum to it, and it takes time. I guess the image that I have in my head, I don't know like why this came in my head, but we like to think of ourselves as these like very nimble windsurfers. If you've ever seen them, they can just like turn their little windsurfing things on a dime and move very quickly. We like to think of ourselves like that, but in reality, we're these like big giant container ships that take a day to turn around. Um, it's a lot easier when we're just kind of living up in our head and thinking about it, but in actuality, it takes more time. So I wanted to offer that too. It's easy to like beat yourself up about like wanting to do good and wanting to be better, and then having the weight of your previous choices make that difficult. So that's one way that that the knowledge of Kamma can change the kind of course of your life. But there's another way too. Maybe like a higher truth or higher a fuller understanding of Kamma and conditionality. So when you answer the question of what to do with this by saying I should act with good Kamma or act with good intention or whatever, you're doing something maybe kind of subtle, but what you're doing is you're sectioning out experience. You're saying, okay, this experience over, or this part of experience over here is subject to conditionality, and I want to do things that make it good. But this part over here, the part that says I should choose, that's not subject to causes and conditions. That's what this way of speaking is saying. It's saying I get to choose, but in reality, that choice is conditioned too. Everything is a function of causes and conditions. This conceit that we are the one who chooses, that there's some separate being in here that gets to decide, that goes very, very deep, and it's difficult to see the conditioned nature of that, but that is the truth of the thing. And when that understanding of Kamma and conditionality fully flowers, what that does is it just blows the self out of the water. The self cannot coexist with that, with the idea that everything that arises is subject to causes and conditions alone. There can be no self. The self requires a chooser, but if it's all causes and conditions, there's no chooser. So the full understanding of conditionality unambiguously shows that there is no self, no chooser. And our suffering in life is that chooser. It's that conceit that I can change the world in the way that I like. I can make it better. I can do this or do that. We spend our lives like wrapped up around this idea that we can change things, and you can just see that it's not the case. There is no chooser there, and when you do that, your suffering just goes. There's no room for it. So we spend our lives in opposition to the world. Something arises, I don't like it, go away. Something else arises, ooh, I want that, I want more. Give that to me, stay here. Something arises, I don't care about it. So we're constantly in some form of resistance with the world. When that resistance, which is the sense of self, when that goes away, we can see experience for what it really is. It's a gift. It's a gift. It's just given to us. We're not, like in some ways, I feel like we're like some kind of spoiled kid at Christmas. We're getting all these like lovely gifts, and we're just like, no, I don't want this one. I want more of this one. We're just constantly doing this to this great gift that we're given. And when you stop doing that, when you meet the world as a gift, as this like this is the greatest gift that you could possibly be given, you see it for what it really is. This life that we're given, this movement from non-existence to existence, that's an act of love. And I'm not being like cute with my words. I'm not being metaphorical. That I mean that in the realest possible sense. This gift of life is an act of love. This experience that we experience is a manifestation of love. And when you see the world that way, the world is so completely different from this thing you need to control, and it's not good, and it's it's too cold, and I want I don't know, just like whatever stuff the mind wants. It's completely different. Experience is understood as the expression of love, and this life that we're given is love, and the only thing that moves this body mind of ours is love or kindness. And of course, like, most of us, most of the time, are operating under some form of delusion. We don't, um, that force of love that's powering us is like distorted and twisted and bent, and it's like it changes from this unconditional thing to this, oh, okay, I'll love only this group of people, or only if they do, what I like, or whatever. And sometimes it gets, more distorted, and it's just, oh, I'm only going to love myself, nothing else. And sometimes even that goes away. But when that filter of the self goes away, when that distortion is gone, this body mind of ours is just moved by love, and it expresses that love and kindness in the world. This body moves with kindness, and the voice speaks with kindness, and the mind thinks thoughts of kindness. It's just, we're just this expression of kindness. And I know some folks look out on the world and see the suffering and the problems that we face, and feel some despair. Um, and I understand that. I understand where that comes from. I definitely see the suffering too, but I don't feel the despair. I guess that's for different reasons, but one of the reasons is that I understand how these body minds of ours work. We're not just kind of vessels for this universal kindness. We're amplifiers. We make it bigger. We have this one life, like full of kindness, but what we put out in the world is not limited to that. You can look at somebody like the Buddha or the Dalai Lama or Thich Nhat Hanh or Jesus, and look at the effect of their lives on the world. That is not one life's worth of kindness. Like what the Buddha did was not one life's worth of kindness. It's millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions or however many. And it's just, the thing about this is that those people that I mentioned are not anyone special. And I'm not being unkind to them by saying that. It's just the effect that they had on the world is just due to the fact that they were moving around without this conception of self. That is available to all of us. Yeah, we all have that in us. Mm. That is, Kamma is one of the ways that we can find our way there, an understanding of Kamma. We spoke about Kamma as being conditionality of intentionality. Just good leads to good, bad leads to bad. When you're seeing the world through the sense of self, the way to use that is to do good and not do bad. But what that does for you is that eases your karmic burden. It changes your momentum. It makes it easier for you to let go and to see into these higher truths. Really, the point of doing this, and the point of practice in general, is to find your way into that surrender, to letting go of the sense of self. Yeah, that's what I have to offer today. Thank you all.